All right, welcome back everybody to Everyday Tech Explained. You know, the N64, it's a classic. Right? And today, well, we're going deep on something pretty wild. The Summer Cart 64.
Okay.
It claims to have literally every N64 game ever.
Wow.
All crammed onto one cartridge. Now, we're basing this on a review we saw, so got to see if it lives up to the hype, you know?
Yeah, that's a bold claim for sure. Having like an entire generation of games just like in your hand.
Right.
Pretty appealing, especially for us who grew up with the N64.
Oh, absolutely. And get this, the review we saw, they were saying this thing has like all the heavy hitters.
Oh, yeah.
GoldenEye, Mario 64, WCW, you know, the ones you remember.
All the classics.
All for like $50. I mean, that's less than one of those old cartridges goes for these days usually.
Yeah, that's a steal if it works.
But the question is, how do they even fit all that on one cartridge? That's the part that gets me.
Right. Well, the tech behind it is actually pretty cool. They're using a micro SD card.
Oh, okay.
Those tiny little things, they can hold a crazy amount of data these days.
Yeah.
It's basically like a mega-powered version of those old memory cards we used to use.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So the cartridge itself is kind of like the bridge, right?
Yeah.
Between the N64 and the card, lets you access all the games.
So it's not actual magic, just like clever engineering.
Pretty much.
But I gotta ask, the games themselves, are we talking original files here or what?
Ah, good question. So they're using what are called ROMs, basically, digital copies of the game data. You know, lets you play them on different hardware without needing the actual old cartridges.
Okay, so that's how they get around the whole space issue.
Exactly.
The review also mentioned playing in 60.9, which, you know, for today's TVs,
Oh, right.
way better than those squish squares we used to deal with.
Huge difference. And getting N64 games to work widescreen, it's actually tricky.
Really?
Yeah, those games, they were built for that old boxy 4.3 ratio.
Yeah.
Just stretching the image would look awful, distorted, so they probably had to use some software tricks to make it look good.
That's interesting. It sounds almost like too good to be true, honestly. And speaking of too good to be true, the review did mention some downsides.
Oh.
Apparently the cartridge, the build quality isn't great. They said it feels kind of flimsy.
Okay.
And they were worried about the generic SD card, how long it would last.
Yeah, that's a classic trade-off, unfortunately, you know. Lower price, sometimes you get cheaper parts.
Right.
And SD cards, well, their quality can be all over the place.
Makes sense.
A cheap one might be more likely to, you know, have errors or lose data.
Oh, that'd be bad.
Yeah, could really mess with your game.
And then there was this other thing. The reviewer was messing around with some, I think they called them hacks.
Oh, yeah, game hacks.
Right. Some of those weren't working right. And they even had flickering in GoldenEye, which, ouch, that's a classic.
Oof. Yeah. So these hacks, they're basically like fan-made changes to the original game code, you know?
Oh, interesting.
People add stuff, levels, characters. Sometimes they fix bugs the developers missed.
Oh, that's cool.
The N64 scene is, it's pretty big for that kind of thing. But the problem is, not every hack is made the same. Some are better than others.
Ah, I see.
They might not work right on certain hardware or with emulators, which is probably what the reviewer was running into.
Okay, so it's not perfect then.
Not quite.
But the reviewers still seem pretty impressed overall, especially for the price. And I gotta say, I mean, the convenience, that's tempting.
Yeah, all those games right there.
So what do you think? Would you roll the dice on this Summer Cart 64?
I mean, it's definitely interesting, especially if you just want a simple, cheap way to, you know, go back and play those old games.
That's it for our deep dive today on the Summer Cart 64. What do y'all think? Is this a nostalgia trip you'd take? Let us know in the comments. Hit that like button. You know the drill. And don't forget to subscribe for more Everyday Tech Explained. We'll see you next time.